What's up, dudes? Welcome back to another episode of Rhomas Men's Team. Pretty simple. We are a group of guys helping each other make progress towards each other's goals. If you're new to the channel, awesome and welcome. If you want to help support the channel and join our pro team, head over to romasteam.com/pro, where you can contribute to us on a donation basis. We also give you access to exclusive content, mastermind groups, etc., etc. So anyway, hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll see you on the team.
Now live. This is Rhomas Men's Team COVID edition. Team COVID tested positive last night and feeling great. Mr. Ray, you just did an excellent job of. I experienced a real-time conflict, and I'll let you take it from there. But I think you did an excellent job of talking through it, stating boundaries, stating your terms in a respectful way, and then moving on.
Thank you, Wes. Welcome to RFK's Juniors America, where you will receive no medicine when you're sick. You're in bed. Yeah, you get you get a "Make America Great Again" hoodie, and it'll keep you warm, and then the fever shall pass. So, Wes, what you just witnessed was two separated / divorced parents showing up to the same place on the same day for custody, right? And so my wife, my ex, and I both showed up to the marital home, assuming that it was our afternoon to spend with our daughter. We both had Zooms we had to do, and yeah. So there was
It's like the
a
plot of like a rom-com, like Getting Back Together rom-com or something like that. We both had
yeah.
Zooms in the marital home at the same time.
It's a very 2024 kind of
Yeah.
rom-com. Yeah, and so I had made plans with my daughter all morning via text and phone calls. So I was in the place I said I was going to be. Wife
How dare
was
you?
called into work and then called out of work and was back and was under the impression that she was going to spend the afternoon with daughter. And so why don't you take it from here in terms of explaining what you heard, because I was just in it. I was in the octagon, and I'm still kind of ringing, right?
Yeah. You were under the wave as crashing down on you. Yeah, I mean, my observation was, and I'm not just saying this because you're on here. I think you did an excellent job of just approaching a conflict, right? An opposing situation that was unanticipated in a very objective way. And then you absorbed some arrows along the way, right? It's like instead of it just being, this is not me picking on the other person, but instead of it just being, hey, obviously circumstances got messed up through none of our own intentions, right? Now what do we do from here? Instead, on the other side, there's extra commentary. Like, why is there extra commentary? Doesn't have to be extra commentary. It's like, okay, there's some sort of situation we have to deal with here. Let's move on. We can see in good faith that nobody did this on purpose. So you stuck to the objective. Okay, seems like there was something in error. Okay, great. What do we do from here? How about I go and do this? You can stay down here. That way it's not interrupted, right? Because I'm going to be talking for the next hour. Okay, boom, and then move on. But the other person doesn't want to let that go there. Like there's something else they want to feed into, right? The dynamic. Some version of "I hate you," like said in so many words or whatever it is, right? Like I want to make you pay for this even though it's not your fault. How many times do we have to confront that in conflict where there's so much other sub communications trying to be shoved in to that box when there doesn't need to be? And you just did a great job and you solved the problem and moved on.
Thank you, man. I think the reason I was able to navigate this well was because this is the third chaotic woman today, like throwing me into, like, throwing a toaster into my bathtub, you know.
Yeah.
So like my mom this morning was like, this will only take 2 minutes, you know, and she
Never two
wanted me
minutes.
to like disassemble a table, bring it to the basement, go up to the second floor,
Yeah,
disassemble a table, bring it down to the first floor, reassemble the table. And a 2 minute, you know,
of course.
30 seconds to get there, 30 seconds to disassemble, 30 seconds to anyway, right? Or no, 15 seconds to get there, 15 seconds to disassemble, 15 seconds to put it in the basement, 15 seconds to get to the next one. Yeah, right? Perfectly rational kind of time blocking there, right?
It's mom math right there, dude.
Yeah, dude. And then so I ended up working with her for about an hour, hour and a half. And then my girlfriend calls and she's upset, right?
Oh,
Because I haven't given her all my attention. And so I had to, you know, we have plans for like a 2 hour hang later today. And she's like, well, how I have no guarantees you're going to be available from 3 to 5. And so I had to just kind of like um,
go to
politely
the bank, get like a
convince
signature
her,
medallion and all that. Yeah.
convince her that she doesn't have a crystal ball. I just had to politely convince her that her crystal ball is not functioning correctly, and she cannot, in fact, guarantee that it's gonna be a like negative outcome, like 4 hours from now, right? And then I get here, and it's like, so this is the third time today that I've been like presented with an emergency. Like
Yeah.
this is an emergency. Um, it's chaos time, you know, and it so like because with my mom I'm able to scream at her and get kind of unconditional love, so I just like I really took it out on her this morning. With the girlfriend I had to be a little more, you know um careful because I still want intimate companionship from her in the future. And then with my ex, I was able to be like extremely neutral and like because we're still in the middle of a separation and divorce, I don't benefit any. And because we have a daughter who I do not want to become a stripper or sex worker, like I don't benefit any from yelling at my ex or like letting my ex ruin my custody time with my daughter, you know?
Yeah.
So like, I also didn't want to give her a win like, hey, ex, let's pretend we're still married and you just push me around like the good old days, right? I didn't want that either, right? So that's why I said what you said, where I kind of actually channeled Wes a little bit, where I restated the objectively the facts of the situation, and um, and then uh, and then offered a compromise kind of like solution. Again, not right. So I'm kind of going off what we talked about on Friday, which is like we have an agreement. You have violated the agreement, and it's not that now you get the death penalty, but it's just you know you have violated the agreement. I've lived up to it. Um,
Yeah.
let's try to work out something. And yeah, so I
But
guess that's kind of what you witnessed there, right?
well, yeah, what I admire about that interaction was your non-reactivity to the arrows being cast
Yeah.
on you.
Again, because this is the third time today where right so with my mom driving me crazy with her like demands and emergencies, I was able to like be furious with her. And then when it came time to my girlfriend, I was able to tell her why I'm so upset or why I'm frustrated or why I've been having a crummy day. And I was able to verbally say out loud, kind of like when we a writing exercise, you know. I was allowed to verbally say out loud that like I'm gonna do a couple of things to put myself in a good mood because my mom doesn't have the authority to ruin my day, and that if that has if my mom interaction has interfered with our quality time girlfriend, um, over the next few hours, why don't you try and do something for you so that whatever I did or didn't do in terms of spending time with you doesn't ruin your whole day. So when it came time for my third chaotic interaction, I had already practiced a couple of times, like or at least said out loud a couple of times, what do we do so that the other person doesn't ruin our day? What do we do so the chaos of the other person doesn't ruin our day? And I think that's some language that we didn't use on Friday with the hypothetical of the dishwasher and how, you know, men organize a dishwasher like it's a Lego set, and women are like a drunk raccoon throwing dishes from across the room into the dishwasher, right? So like, something we didn't talk about yesterday was the internal conversation of like, okay, how do I not let this ruin my day, right? Because
Yeah.
how many times has a guy just kind of been pushed over the limit in frustration because the dishwasher is always kind of
Mhm.
stuffed to the gills, right? So I think that's an important thing we have to say, like, what tools do I have to make sure this doesn't ruin my day?
Do you find that you have to fight against it ruining your day?
Oh yeah.
Or really?
Oh yeah, dude. Like, yeah, unchecked and untooled, I'll fester. I'll go over it
Mm.
again and again and again. And yeah, now talking about it with someone, like talking it over with someone, like saying it out loud and like rather than having it circulate in my head all day, right? So for example, us talking about it. So calling one of your brothers and talking about it, um, takes the gas out of it, takes the hot air out of it,
Yeah.
right? Your brother listens, your brother jokes around with you, maybe has a recommendation or suggestion for you if you want, and then yeah, you can process it. So one of those kind of interactions unprocessed, yeah, can kind of like ruin your whole day,
Yeah.
or you know what I mean?
Yeah. What do you do in a situation where, let's say you agree on an operating system, like a way of thinking, a way of being together? Do you know what I mean? Cognitive behavioral therapy comes to mind for me, right? Like it's an operating system on how to think. Um, and if you and a loved one have agreed on that operating system, how do you reconcile that with like the Gottman method? You know, so it's like, hey, if we agreed on this operating system and you're clearly not doing it, right? Like let's say if you agree to the operating system of cognitive behavioral therapy, but then you are catastrophizing, right? So you're violating the rule of like cognitive behavioral therapy to say, do not catastrophize. Don't use words like always, never, etc., or this is the worst thing in the world that I can't believe you didn't put the toothpaste cap back on the toothpaste. You know, what do you do in that situation when you are with that, you're committed to that person and they are clearly violating the rule? Do you exit gracefully and then revisit, hey, by the way, you were breaking the rules of the operating system? Do you do you coddle the person despite the irrational overreaction, because maybe the pain is coming from a deeper source? Quite hopefully it is, and not just the toothpaste cap. um or do you do none of the above? Like, what's the protocol there?
Well, given those three choices, I mean,
Or
I
any
have
other
a.
choices you'd have?
Well, no, let's just start with those three. I have a feeling that do nothing and coddle are probably not are short-term ways of diffusing it, but probably not long-term healthy ways to address it, right? And yeah, I think you can call them on their bullshit. Ideally, you'd be able to call them on their bullshit in a way that is non-confrontational or non-violent, and you can still let it slide, I guess. But um, uh, yeah, So I think it's all in like the communication style. And I think what we talked about in terms of framing is probably the language I'm thinking of,
Mm.
which is like, look, this isn't a big deal. This isn't the end of the world. Uh, we agreed to X, Y, and Z. Look, life gets in the way. I understand. Um, I would do something like that, right? Where it's not coddling and it's not kind of like avoiding or being in denial. So I think, uh, yeah,
I
like
think
male
I
to
think
male,
you're
that
better at
male to
handling
male, that covers that would work. Male to female, I don't know. That might, you know, that might you might be accused of gaslighting or something if you do that.
Hey dudes, sorry for the interruption here. Just wanted to let you know if you want to join our pro team, go to romasteam.com/pro. You can help support the channel. You will also get access to exclusive content, masterminds, one-on-one sessions, etc. All right, back to the episode.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, I think you're significantly better at that than I am. I find myself to be much more of a literal type of personality and thinker. So it's hard for me when people say, "Oh, like look at the underlying intention." That's natural. It's intrinsically difficult for me. Um, and I need to work on that because if I have conflict and I hear somebody saying those things, I'm almost immediately checked out. It's like what, like I can't solve the problem because what you're saying is so hyperbolic that it's not based in any sort of reality, and therefore I'm done. Right? You get your stuff in order, then you bring back to the table some sort of reasonable discussion points, and I'll engage. But until then, I'm out. I don't know that that's the correct way of handling it.
No way, dude. Come back when your head's screwed correctly. Like,
But I do literally like think and feel that way.
yeah.
It's like I don't know what to solve because
Hmm.
you just word saladed a whole bunch of stuff that seems heavily in your favor, um and as also question my integrity, morality, all of the above. And you want me to sit here and engage in this? So number one, it feels fake. Number two, it feels like you are insulting me quite frequently. So I'm going to go to the gym.
If you don't mind, it might help me if you kind of give us a reminder of the contract or constitution or what agreement, whatever you have with your mom, where like, um, because your mom's communication style, way of organizing and stuff is so different from yours,
Yeah.
and it can be maddening. What's that document that you have, and just can you explain the function of that document?
Yeah, I mean, just for those of you who haven't heard before, I have a document for my mother, and I have it for a few people in my life, where I wrote out the best version of them in my memory, if that makes sense, and what they have done for me historically. Like my mother didn't leave when my dad left, etc. So that gets me back to base rate to understand, right? Like look at the forest through the trees, sort of thing. It's like, okay, we have this one little splinter here, but remember, this is the woman who raised you, who didn't leave you, etc. And that instantly gives me a perspective shift of like, you know, when she doesn't screw the orange juice lid on beyond 75%. So then when you shake it, it sprays all over the place. And this gets you almost every single time, or whatever other thing, because I'm annoyingly analytical, so I just find things all day long that are wrong with the world. Um, so this reminds me, right, to appreciate and to be grateful. I do find it hard though at times during conflict, like incredibly difficult.
Well, so I think that is one approach where, let's say we're talking about two spouses and the dishwasher, right? Like, I think it would be helpful for some of us if we had that document handy.
Yeah.
You open the dishwasher, it looks like a hoarder's, storage locker that's been repossessed for lack of payment. You open it, you're like,
Yeah.
You know, you take out your document. Okay,
Yeah.
you know, she's the mother of my child. You know, etc. You know, she's a good person. She was like, you know, she was kidnapped and lived in a bunker with like a doomsday cult for 20 years. Okay, there's other reasons why this is kind of forgivable behavior, right? And so, yeah. Now, I'm trying to think of excuses why I shouldn't do that with someone I'm currently separating, divorcing from. But I think that no, why I don't think that I should make excuses for myself why I shouldn't have those documents. With my mom, I definitely should have one of those
Yeah.
documents because in this separation and divorce, I'm living on her couch. So like I am grateful for everything she's done for me through the present, right? Through the present moment. But like her definition of like, you know, how to vacuum, how to like clean up after herself in the kitchen, or like what making a bed is, or like what a clean bathroom it looks like. It's like all that kind of like loyalty and unconditional love just goes out the window. Like, and you're like, I'm like living with a gorilla at the zoo here, you know? Um, so I think, yeah, I think it's so let's think of other. So let's okay. The mom relationship for you and for me is definitely uh, helpful. And again, it's not so that they get a kind of blank check to drive us crazy, but it's just so that we can remind ourselves like why we have signed up for a permanent relationship with this person. You know, when these little kind of like when these little issues come up. Like you said, so that we recognize the forest for the trees. So what other relationships would that kind of document be useful in? So like a marriage or like an intimate relationship for sure.
Oh, I mean, I would say
Um,
basically all semi-sustained relationships, like semi-permanent relationships,
right.
work
So
relationships,
colleagues,
friendships,
yeah,
etc.
yeah, yeah. And then I guess right, because like I'm thinking if you work really well with a partner or a colleague and what they do, what they heat up in the microwave in the workroom, just you think is a show demonstrates appallingly poor judgment and consideration for other people's like sense of smell, their hair, and their clothes. Um, yeah, like so. Let's role play this. So like, let's say, what kind of document would you? So okay, do you have anyone at your office who cooks like curry or like reheats, you know, what is it, hot and sour soup or something in the microwave?
Unfortunately, I don't, but I have before, so I can relate to what you're saying.
Okay,
And
and then and so with that person, like, what would you put in that document so that you just don't like kind of go to your car and get your AK or your like your AR-15 every time, you know, they've
yeah,
got like Mandarin buffet leftovers in the work fridge.
yeah. Well, so it's funny. Literally how I would solve that problem, because I've actually had this before. Um, I think it's a longer term play. I think, like most relationships, it's a matter of building up rapport. And then, Ray, what you do a phenomenal job at, as like building up rapport to the level where you can use humor to correct behavior. So, I might have to befriend you for a few weeks, and then get enough, like, have you feeling stable enough within the relationship where I can crack jokes with you, where those jokes are not going to question the foundation of our dynamic. So then I would say, hey, Ray, just so you know, man, when you cook that fish in the microwave, it literally makes me want to kill myself and you. So something just, and it doesn't even have to be that funny, right? It just has to be lighthearted, and then something like that. And 90, I don't know, Ray, what have you found? Like 95% of the time, that stuff works, and there's no resentment on the other side. Because I don't think clinical ways of approaching acquaintanceships or friendship debate is the way to go. Although I do feel like sometimes clinical strategies do well in more tight-knit relationships. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it just sometimes it has to be more black and white. When you do this, it makes me feel this way. We are living together, therefore, like I can't sugarcoat this. We have to approach this dynamic. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that the foundational um, security of the friendship is what goes into that document, or the foundational security of the colleague or of the family dynamic is what goes into that document. Because really, that is what we're trying to remind. The value of that foundational, like long sustained relationship, is what we need to remind ourselves of
Yeah.
when our olfactory is under attack with a combination of like chili powder, cumin, you know, etc. Uh,
I
yeah,
wonder,
so I
Ray,
think
if it's
yeah, those foundational qualities um, are what we can forget when we're just like they always do this. They always do this, and if they do this one more time, I'm gonna let them have it.
I wonder if there's a more practical way of going about it. It's like, okay, am I really going to create a full page document, 8.5 by 11 document for every person that I interact with
Right.
on a frequent basis? I wonder if a shortcut version of this is reminding yourself what the best thing that person has ever done for you is.
Right.
Do you
So
know what I
that
mean?
it's in the, yeah, so that it's a mantra, or it's so that it's just like
Yeah.
it's just a mantra rather than a essay, rather than you have to unscroll,
Yeah.
right? Like just like yeah. So if it was your mom, it would be like just remember, she's the parent who stayed
Yep.
when the parents were given the option to leave,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, that's probably sufficient, right? You probably have a trump card for every single one of the
Yeah.
relationships that you have that's like instantly like resets the baseline.
Yeah. Yeah. And then but I mean, I'm having trouble coming up with that perfect mantra for each relationship right now, because I think like writing it out would definitely be the way to for sure like figure out what that one killer sentence is, right?
I wonder, just like RA is saying in the comments, I wonder though if it's just for lack of trying for 5 seconds. It seems like I'm going to guess that for RA, right? He said the mantra for his ex is she brought my son into this world.
Yeah.
I mean that there's probably some pretty good like fortune cookie one-liners that we could easily take, from for our top 5 relationships.
hmm I mean, it wouldn't take any time at all to just text Ryan and be like, hey, you know, why is my buddy Lawrence so important to me? And he'll just give me like, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
a fortune cookie, right?
I do think it has to be extreme because if it's like too close to the midline, then the negative stimulus at the moment is going to override it. You
Yeah,
know?
it's got to be 5-1, right? That's the ratio.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It can't be just like, oh yeah, like he drove me home one time in the rain. So therefore excuses
Mm.
him, cheating, well, hooking up with my wife or something like that. It's got to be an extreme asymmetry. Um, I do think though it is something that should probably be scripted or at least thought of in advance a few times. Um, because as you know, in wartime, you're running off of limbic system. And if that thing is not committed to muscle memory, good luck.
Agreed.
I've one other thing, change topics on you here. Um, a mantra that I've repeated to myself quite frequently throughout this year, um, because this year in business has gone really well, and that's not a brag. It actually brings up an objective, somewhat of a difficult situation, which is I have this one friend who repeatedly says to me like, "Well, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this?" Why? And he's in a similar industry, so he just always has this like idea. And then what happens is like, I'm like, "Oh, if you just make a few phone calls, you can make X dollars, right?" And I'm articulating this because we find ourselves in this pattern quite frequently, us men, always. And the pattern that I call it is good money, great money, best money. So oftentimes life does not come down to distinctions of good versus bad. It comes down to different degrees of good, all the way up to best. So it's really easy to distract oneself with, oh, well, I could do this and I could make good money, right? Or, oh, I could do this and it would be great money. But if the real question is it the best money, right? And you can exchange money for whatever else, right? Like good for great for best. These are, if you really think about that, these are very, very, very different objectives and therefore have very different prescriptions. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I've repeated to myself quite frequently this year. And then also, I had to come up with that so that it got like my buddies off my back because everybody wants to help you. It's kind of like Matt says, like being a stand-up comedian. Everybody wants to give you the next joke that you should do up on stage, you know, and you're trying to find a way of telling them this. It's like, okay, there's more that it goes into this. Like you don't understand some of the stuff behind the curtains. So now I just repeat the mantra. It's like, you know, good money, great money, best money. And hey, Steve, right? What you're saying is a great idea. The problem is I'm going after the best idea right now. And the only way I'm going to exchange the best idea is if the idea you're giving me is better than the best. The probability of that is slim to none because I've been working on this for decades. You're just thinking about this during your lunchtime at, you know, Panini Kebab Grill or whatever. So what say
Is that
you?
the language you use, or that's what's going on in your head?
No, that's what I say.
Okay,
I mean, it's
to his
both. It's what's
face.
going to my head, and then what I tell my buddy.
And you're still friends?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Why is that bad?
Um, he's in the same industry as you, isn't he?
No, a related industry, not the same
Okay, because you
exact
said
thing.
I've been working on this for decades, and you've been thinking about this while you're deciding to go for the boneless chicken wings or like the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Caesar salad. So like I just no I don't know. It just sounded like clever and devastating the way you said it right there. But I guess you know what? I guess your buddy Steve has a little fortune cookie whenever you talk like that, and he's like, you know what? This is my oldest friend. I'm gonna let it slide. That he thinks I have the IQ of a potato. That's okay. Um, but I mean that is changing the subject, and that is an interesting one where I get that all the time, right? Because I work in the art business, selling art. That
Yeah,
people think it's a glamorous business just because of the size of the price tags, or just because it is a cultural product. So you know, music, professional music, professional art, professional sports. I mean, we're under the from TV and movies. We're under the impression that it's glamorous. Maybe because like the top 1.1% live very glamorous lives and who do this work,
yeah.
right? Uh, and so yeah, I get it all the time where my nephew has a my nephew paints, or my nephew, he's really good at painting or whatever, or you know what you should do. Uh, and
Right.
so there's like, can we think of is there like a universal response? because like something that came to mind for me was what you could say to your buddy is like, that's a great idea. It just doesn't work with my work style, you know? Like that is a great idea for somebody else. I wish I could be good at everything, but really my strength is picking up the phone, and I find that works for me. And I've tried what you've suggested before because I've seen it work so well with other people. It just doesn't work for me. I mean, that's kind of, maybe we're saying the same thing. I don't know, but that's kind of like
Yeah.
where you're
Well,
heaping praise on the person while
yeah.
clearly kind of communicating that you will not be following their advice.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing. So that buddy and I in particular have he's like a brother, like really strong bond. So there's no like I can speak to him like I would speak to myself, Um which that might not be a good thing. But what I'm more like focused on is like the inner monologue and how often I have been led astray by anything other than the best money until I've had that like quick one-liner in my head, right? So I want to give that to everybody in case it's useful. It's at a certain point in life, it's not about whether or not the thing that you're doing is good or will have a good return or outcome. It's about whether or not will it have the best. It's not good, it's not great. Is it the best? Have you thought about, is this the most optimal? And then it does require upfront diligence, right? And thinking through it. But then once you have it, you're locked in and you can defend against any intruders that try to take that plan away. And yes, Ray, it happens via the you should, right? You should do this, right? Um, and that can come from somebody else saying it to you. It could also come from you. Oh, I should be doing this. I should be doing this. Well, is it the best money? Yes or no? And if it's not, then the conversation should end, just like you used in that conflict with it earlier. Conversation over. We've talked about that. This is not the best money. I'm out.
So Wes, I'm about to go in and do round two of the good, great, best conversation. Wish me luck, and I'll shoot you a text and let you know how it goes.
Awesome. All right, brother. I love you, pal. Have a great day. Thank you, guys. I'm gonna go back to bed later.
Get well soon, Wes.
Thanks, bud.